there, viewers. Thank you for tuning in to Supermariodiagnostics once again. It's been a while. Happy New Year's, everybody. And today we are working on a 2015 Mercedes C300. We've got the maintainer hooked up, and the customer's concern is a long crank time and the check engine light comes on. And when the check engine light comes on, they pull the code and it pulls up P001685, position of the intake camshaft, cylinder 1 implausible relative to the position of the crankshaft, and P001177, position of the intake camshaft, cylinder 1 deviates from the specified value, and the command position cannot be reached. And it shows a stored code there. We have a starter, battery, excessive resistance. We know it's going to need a battery. Anyway, this is actually a vehicle that belongs to our friends over at Specialized ECU Repair. They are the ones that taught me how to solder, and I figured why not put this one on YouTube. So I'm gonna go ahead and recreate the symptom for you. Long crank, check engine light is on, and other than that, it doesn't run perfectly. Mercedes usually runs smooth as glass, but not this one. That being said, we're going to go into all data and check out the diagram in order to get the cam and crank correlation. The reason why I want to do that is because they swapped the cam sensor between banks and it didn't follow. So I don't know if they did that with the solenoid also, the adjuster, but it is something that it's probably worth doing. But I will ask them and see if they did that already. But ultimately, we told them this may be a timing job, so we may end up at the same conclusion. And they said, no, go ahead and test it anyway. So I did some digging and found the potential of the intake cam having the tone ring shift. So the only way we're truly going to figure that out, if we pinpoint that without taking the whole thing apart and comparing camshafts, is because we don't really have camshafts, at our disposal, right? The only way we're really going to do that is if we have known good cam crank versus intake waveforms, right? So we have one cam for each channel, the crank for one channel, and then the last channel will be a transducer in the cylinder number 1. And fortunately for us, we have another 274 engine getting an oil change that we can grab known good from. All right, so we've got all data pulled up by VIN number, and we've got our diagram over here. We're gonna go ahead and look for our crankshaft. There's our crankshaft hall sensor right there, and we can see a shared wire and another shared wire. Those cannot be our signal wire because signal wire would be dedicated to the engine computer. So right here we can see it leads to this pin 81, yellow and white, on our connector M, and we can see 96 pins. So more than likely, this is going to be our 96 pin connector. We're going to remove this, back probe it, and then we can just get our camshaft signal from right there at the camshafts. And then obviously we're going to go ahead and get the end cylinder right in there. So we're gonna have to go to our known good vehicle, grab that information out of there. Before I do that, because my coworker is still working on it, I'm gonna swap these and see if anything happens there. I doubt it'll follow, but it sure would be nice, right? We're gonna go ahead and do that, see if the code follows, and grab known good, because I want that known good anyway for future possibilities, and I may be able to share that with you guys as well. So we're going to swap this while my coworker is working on the known good vehicle. We're going to clear the codes and see if it follows by any chance. And regardless of whether it does or not, we're still going to grab the known good stuff from the known good vehicle using the information that we grabbed from all data. So let's go ahead and do just that. A customer came in with a 274 engine, and we were able to grab a known good waveform with the cam and crank sensors along with the end cylinder all at the same time. That way we could nail this down, put it to rest without, the only disassembly I did was a spark plug. So here is our known good, right? We can see our two short too long, right? Too shorts, they line up. Too long, line up. And we can see our known good in cylinder waveform. And we can see our suspect cylinder, too short, too long, and then too long, too short. So this is nearly 180 degrees, or 180 degrees off, almost nearly. It's way off. Now, I'm pretty sure the engine wouldn't have run if this was the case, but now that we have a known good to compare to, with minimal disassembly, we can conclude that our engine is mechanically fine. Look at this. You could take a look. It's nearly identical. Nearly identical. There's a slight discrepancy right here on the exhaust, but that's nothing to worry about. 417 degrees at the crank, so about 200 degrees off. This problem is that the tone ring has shifted. It has shifted. So this is going to need a cam, and the root cause is the actuator. The next day after I spoke to the customer, after we received the vehicle, or a day or two after that, he came by and said, "What's up?" And we spoke a bit, and he said on a cold start he heard some chatter. And I'm like, really? I didn't hear that, but you know, it's good to know, because the root cause, what causes this shift in the tone ring, is the hammering of a faulty actuator. So when that faulty actuator is just like hammering away in the morning before the oil or the oil pressure takes over, that real fast clank for like the first couple thousand revolutions, it's, well, maybe not 1,000, maybe first couple hundred revolutions. That is the root cause of this failure. So this is going to need a cam, an actuator, and, well, you know, since we have the timing components taken apart, we're going to do the timing job as well. Well, that's what we're going to recommend. This vehicle has over 100,000 miles on it, and for those who don't know, that's literally that's the lifetime of a vehicle nowadays. People think that 200,000 is the lifetime of a vehicle, but that's not in the German world, and those days are over. The lifetime of a vehicle is literally 100,000 miles. So keeping that in mind, it is due for a cam, an actuator, and the timing job. I will present my findings to the customer. He's a friend of mine. He's actually helped me out several times with Porsche stuff, specialized ECU repair. Those guys are great people to work with. I'm proud to call them friends. They actually do a lot of work with Porsche, and if you have any Porsche needs, I mean, they're the people I trust. So I'm gonna reach out to him and present my findings. Not to go on a whole tangent here, but this was very obvious, right? Like it was way off, and the vehicles kept running. And you know, without a known good waveform, it's up in the air for me. This is the first time I grab a waveform from a 274. I didn't know they were supposed to line up. To me, there's no reference. So until I get a reference, I don't know that. The idea here is that we don't guess, right? If we would have put a timing chain on it, right? The first instinct is, well, it's a correlation code. It's gonna need timing. Put a timing chain on it. Maybe it's chain stretch or whatever. And then it needs a cam. You just did that timing job for nothing, and then you're gonna have to do it again if the customer is even willing to trust you at that point. The second part to that is, well, I've run into this before, let's just put a cam in it. But what if it didn't need a cam? That's excessive waste, really. It's who's gonna pay for that, right? So I get it if you wanna play safe, I get that, but like, you have a known good now. If you're watching this video, you have a known good. Grab that waveform, you can compare it to the known good waveform, and you don't have to take apart this whole thing just to find out that it needs a cam. Another point to make, right? Because many people will be like, well, couldn't you just have put it on top dead center on number 1 and then take off the cam sensors and take a look to see if the tone ring, I don't know if it's a magnetic ring or not. I don't know any of that yet, but let's just say to humor ourselves here, couldn't you just put it to top dead center and look to see if the line, that tone ring, the window was there and they both lined up? First, if I had experience with these engines, yes, technically yes, we could see if it's physically out of time. But how can we know the difference between a cam that's really out of time versus a shifted tone ring when you're just taking off the cam sensors just to inspect? There's no way to know the difference. There's no true way to know the difference. So that's where the scope comes in handy. We can get an inside look as to what's going on in the engine with minimal disassembly. We can see that it was 200 degrees off. And really, there's no true way, right? So like if I was to do that, take off the cam sensors and take a look at the little notches in the tone ring and say, oh, it's out of time, right? Then we throw a timing job into it, and it needs a cam because the pressed in tone ring shifted. So there's that. You have to take that into consideration here. I think this is the best possible approach that we can take on this, considering it all. Another thing to consider is that everything is labor intensive on these vehicles. You cannot just, I mean, I cannot, in good conscience, just start taking things apart and expect anything to just be easy. It's not a Honda 3.5. It's not just, take off the little caps and inspect the timing and this and that. These engines with these pressed on lobes, with these, the lobes too, there's pressed on lobes, there's pressed on everything nowadays, and you can't do things the way it's always been done. The times have changed, and this is not even that much of a brand new car. This is a 2015. It's already about 10 years old. So what's coming is incredible. It's going to get worse. And if you are miraculously from the public and watching this video, this is what happens to these newer cars. Like, you drive a Mercedes and things aren't built the way they used to be built. So different testing is included. It's required in order to find out what the problem is, because times have changed, the technology has changed, and your car is not as sweet as you might think it is. Look at the things that we have to deal with. I hope you take that into consideration when you're taking your car in for service, that a shop is literally at the mercy of the available information, the available technology, like the scopes, and the available training that they've had. So it's in your best interest to find a highly trained, a highly equipped shop that values testing. I made a mistake, right? We all make mistakes. I'm not excusing myself, but this is one that I think everyone can learn from, especially myself. And I dropped the ball in several ways here, right? So I don't think it's going to need a camshaft. The parts are already here. The car's already ready to start getting worked on. But if it doesn't need a camshaft, we're not putting a camshaft on that thing. So the whole trajectory of the repair has changed. Let me explain my new findings. This is what we saw originally, right? We saw the suspect vehicle. Let me go ahead and turn this into a full screen here. That's not even much better. We saw our suspect vehicle, right? Our customer's vehicle with the two lines up here, the two short windows, right? And the two short windows over here with good valve timing. There was a bit of a discrepancy in the intake position, right? We can see where my ruler is slightly before this downward signal. I'm kind of at a loss for words still at this, so I'm trying to explain this as best as I can, and then we can see the same thing over here perfectly lined up on the known good vehicle, right? My mistake was found when my brother and I started talking about the repair procedure, and also a friend of mine sent me a known good waveform, and this is what he sent me, and I'm like, that's weird. It looks just like my suspect vehicle. So I put that in the back seat of my mind and started thinking about this. I was looking through the procedure because I'm about to start the job, and what do I find? Let's see. I find this. This is what I find. I find that the small notch does not line up with a small notch on the basic setting. This is the install position of the cams, right? The timing, basically. You guys, if you're familiar with Mercedes, you have to go back and forth, back and forth. This is the OE equivalent, right? This is through all data, but this is exactly how Mercedes gives it to you. And you have to go back and forth between each and every part of
repair process, and part of that is where we click here, and that takes us to this, and that's where we find the notches aren't matching. But wait a minute, isn't my known good vehicle matching notches? What happened there? I'll tell you what happened there. Go to my waveform, right? This is my known good waveform, known good, and everything's matching. And it dawned on me what happened. I used my filter before taking this capture, and when I removed the filter, it reveals the problem. They are, in fact, the same exact signal. Oh man, it's embarrassing, I know. Yeah, it's embarrassing. This is exactly the same signal. If we go, we line them up, they are exactly the same, and the scope doesn't lie. You know what I'm saying? The scope does not lie. That is exactly the same signal. That's because in my little capture moment, right, while I was hooking up to the vehicle, part of that was testing one of my leads, and I tested it by checking it at the lead, at the signal that I already knew that was good. Had the vehicle running, I was getting nothing out of the one of those channels, and then I connected it to, I piggybacked it to the one that I already had that was good to check my wire, to check my scope, and everything was good. So then I put it, I back probe, and I thought I back probed the correct cam, and it turns out I must have made contact, or I must have been back probing the same wire because they're right adjacent to each other. Lots of mistakes on this one. What can I say? But the customer's not going to pay for our mistakes. So what I do believe is happening is that the intake time, the camshaft does, I did hear that clacking, right? At first in the video I said I didn't hear anything, even though the customer said this thing clacked in the morning, big time, really loud. Well, it did it this time, and because we left it sitting until the parts came. And I heard it this time. I wish I could get it on video for you guys, but I don't know that I will. This removes the camshaft out of the equation. Now we do have the camshaft here, don't get me wrong, and all the things that I said about these the camshaft and the ring slipping and the actuator being the root cause, all that still holds true. But it may not be the case in this situation. I think we caught it early, right? The customer brought it early, they heard the clacking, they saw the check engine light, and they brought it right over. In extreme cases though, the actuator will cause that tone ring to shift. Now we have the new camshaft here, and we're gonna, inspect it and compare it to the original camshaft just in case before putting everything back together. But we're not going to take the valve cover off. We're going to proceed as if this is just an actuator and chain and tensioner and guide job, not a whole camshaft job. So that being said, it feels good to get that off my chest and just lay it all out there. And I'm pretty sure the customer is going to be watching this, so if you are, just know that this is not because we know you, and this would be the same for anybody, right? So if we catch ourselves slipping, bam, we're gonna make it right. We got to make it right. I have no doubt that we'll be able to return that camshaft. It's not going to be used. We're going to carefully just look at the notch in comparison to the valve lobe, the intake lobe, and that's it. We are not, I don't want to do anything else with that cam. I just want to just take a look at it, maybe take a picture for reference, but we're going to hopefully be able to return that. If not, we're going to eat it. But I don't see that happening. That being said, once the job is done, I don't know that I'm going to film the whole job. There's plenty of YouTube videos already showing the timing jobs on these. It's quite a process, but it's not anything out of this world. That being said, once we do finish the job, we're still going to get an in-cylinder versus the camshaft and crankshaft correlation waveforms for your reference. So do not use the one that you saw originally. Some people are going to watch this video, they're going to grab the known good, and they're going to be like, all right, and run with it. But I'm just going to have to tell you right now, if they didn't watch it till now, they got the wrong one. So I will grab that capture for you guys and provide it for you. So you guys can have it, because all those things still hold true. Remember that. I'm going to get started on this job and let you guys know where we end up on this. To me, I consider it fixed. You know, we got all the parts. We know what's wrong with it, and we're gonna take it at that. Thankfully, my brother and I started talking about it. You know, started looking at service information. You know, looking at all data service information that they got from the OE, and it was caught. It was caught in time, right? This is a very good pointer here. Always look at all the service information. I had looked at it, but I didn't click on the basic settings of the camshaft positions. But when I did, always look at all service information. When I did, that's what caught this. Thankfully, we didn't jump that gun. It's good to bounce things off of other techs. That's another pointer on this video. Bounce things off of other techs, right? Go through the service information. I know, time is money, right? They say time is money, but look, in this case, a little bit of time saved the customer a lot of money. So stick with us, and we'll get back right back to you guys. All right, so we are knee deep in this job, and to my big surprise, I don't know how anybody would have caught this, even with the waveforms. It's close enough, right? The timing mark is supposed to be here. When the valve cover is on, we're supposed to be able to see through the camshaft hole. But check out this indicator right here, and then check out this pointy surface, right? They do not line up. Let's see if I can get this on camera really well. They simply do not line up. And it doesn't seem like much, but this is the notch we're looking at. We're not looking at anything else. We're literally looking right here. And it is just like a couple degrees off. But then when we look at a brand new one, let me see if I can zoom in on this. It is perfectly lined up. Perfectly. So it does need a cam. It does need a cam. Oh man, what a roller coaster. Check that out. That tone ring did in fact shift. So thankfully we do have a cam. Oh man, even with the waveform, I'm gonna tell you the difference is just a couple degrees. I'd say 5 degrees if that. Just winging it. You'd be very hard pressed to diagnose this without looking at it, without getting that valve cover off in this particular case. In other cases, it may be more off, but I'm glad we, even with all of the mistakes we've made, we're still on the right track. We've got a cam, we're gonna use it, and we have every evidence all the evidence that we need to justify it. It is quite a procedure to do it, but nothing we couldn't handle. I'm pretty glad I got to film this one and share it, because it is truly not an emotional roller coaster, a roller coaster in and of itself, to be honest with you. It is truly, I'm surprised every step of the way. And I'm glad I got to document it for you guys. Stick around, I'm gonna finish this job, and we're gonna go ahead and put it all together and call it a day. This is like pretty much all the stuff that's coming off. You're going to need several special tools. I mean, you name it. This is not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. But we got this, and we're gonna keep moving. One last thing to note is, if we did not buy the new cam, we probably wouldn't have seen the discrepancy between the notches to begin with. I did notice this, and that's what prompted me to go look at the new cam. But without knowing this, right, this is the first time I ever ripped one of these open. How can we know? How can we know without that reference, right? So just something to point out. Things really worked out in our favor, fortunately, and it works out for the customer as well. Even with all the mistakes I made. Thankfully, we were able to catch this and see the discrepancy and have a new cam on hand to compare it to. And this will be useful information for those of you working on these in the future. It's a very hard call to make with just the scope capture. We did see a discrepancy in the notches compared to the valve timing, but that's a very difficult call to make. Like, can someone say, oh, this thing needs a cam based on just that? It's a tough one, but I think we're gonna have to decide, yes, we're gonna have to start making those calls. Let's get a cam on the way and compare. The thing is, to do the actuator, let's say someone only did the timing and the actuator, you still need to remove the valve cover to put down the lock tools. And that's where you will see the discrepancy between the notch and this point right here. So then that kind of messes you up, because now you got to wait for the cam to show up, and Mercedes kind of takes a while sometimes. So it took us several days to get that cam. But just wanted to put that out there. Thank God this all worked out, really, because I thought I didn't need a cam. We bought the cam anyway, and it all kind of lined up anyway. Just and saved everybody a huge headache. So we're gonna continue on. We're gonna get this thing going. We're gonna get the known good waveforms and confirm the repair. Changing out the chain sure makes it a lot easier to do it with a little bit of help. That's why I got my brother here. Hold on. Yeah, so there it is. Keep going. That's good right there. Thank you, man. Luckily it didn't let go. I'm gonna show this real quick. Thank you, brother. So maybe someone has a better way, but without multiple master links, I wasn't gonna rivet this on. So I used some of those little pliable metal, I don't know what you call these, the little links that you get, like the little wired, mechanical wires, and put it as flush as I could, and thankfully it did not come out. That link did not come out. So there's our old chain, there's our new chain. We're gonna keep this moving. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start this up. I cleared the codes and I am about to do the camshaft position adaptation, but we're gonna go ahead and start it up because part of the process is to get the engine started. So let's go ahead and start it up. Oh, that was a beautiful quick start, I gotta say. Pretty grateful right now. First timer here, so you can imagine the that moment, you know, right? Everyone knows what moment I'm talking about. We're gonna do the camshaft position teach-in. Gonna let it get up to temperature here, and once that is done, we're gonna go ahead and get you fellas a known good waveform. And with that being said, you'll see it right at the end. I'll go ahead and post it as a screenshot. That being said, thank you all for joining me on this ride. It was a roller coaster. It was fun. It had its ups and downs. There was moments of a little bit of everything, you know, a little bit of laughter, a little bit of kind of disappointment, you know, the suspense. This one had everything. I really appreciate you all for taking the time to watch and to join me on this one. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to be able to document this kind of stuff for you guys as well. You never really know what you're going to get into in this industry. Per job, every job is different. Every job, like, people like to but like pretty much hand stamp all these repairs, right? Oh yeah, it's this or it's that, as if it's just like so easy. But I gotta say, there's times where the cars will surprise you. It'll take you one way, and one testing error can lead you another way. Like, there's so many variables
that have to be dealt with in order for us to get to the right answer, is what I'm getting at. So, and you guys got to join me on that one, so that was pretty cool. I was really close to just being like, I don't know if I want to continue this video, honestly, because it's one of those moments where it's like, am I doing everybody a disservice at this point? I have to wonder that sometimes. So it kind of motivates me that we got to see it through to the end, and come out winning. We have another happy customer, from my friend over at Specialized ECU Repair. They're going to be very happy, and they're going to be able to see this and know that they got their money's worth. And yeah, they got it all worked out. I mean, it was a crazy ride. Got to film it. You guys got to join me on this one, and we'll see what life holds for us next. I'll catch you all on the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for joining me on this wild ride, and let's see where this takes us. There may be another one around the corner that might be just as interesting. Yeah, if you like what you see, consider subscribing. If you don't, that's fine. That's okay with me too. Leave your thoughts in the comment sections. Any questions, be sure to leave them there. I have cut down in my replies, my responses to the comments, because it's just so much that it's really hard. It's really hard to keep up with everything, and we all have our responsibilities, right? So, but leave them there. I'll try to read them. I do read most of them, but when it comes to responding, if I responded to every single question and response, it'd just be too much. But know that I'm reading them, and I really appreciate every single one of you who support this channel, especially our sponsors. A huge shout out to them. Thanks for making this happen. Once again, thank you all for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.